look at notes 9.2. So we're still talking about factoring trinomials, but this time a is not 1. We're actually going to have a number greater than 1, and we're going to talk about how to do that. You will solve this warm-up on your own using the box or the FOIL method, either one. Okay, but let's go ahead and take a look at these examples here. Fill in the missing values to complete the square. So just like last time, you're just multiplying, right? So I know that 2x times x is 2x squared. 5 times x is 5x. 2x times 7 is 14x. Okay, 5 times 7 is 35, and then you just combine like terms and put everything together. So I would have 2x squared plus 5x and 14x give me 19x plus 35. Okay, now I want you to try this second box on your own, okay, but I want you to omit the third box. We're actually not going to worry about that one, but let's keep moving. Let's look at this one. Now this time it wants us to completely do it on our own here. So 2x and x. Well, what would multiply to get us 2x squared? I know that both have to be an x, right? Because x times x gives us that x squared. What times anything would get us 2? Your only options are 2 and 1, right? So I'm going to put my leading coefficient on top there, okay? And then, so here we go. Now I can keep moving. Well, what times x would get us 3x? 3. Keep moving. What times 2 would get us 8x? 4x. Nope, just 4, sorry, 4. And that gives us 8x. Then 3 times 4 gives us 12. And then you have everything you need. So I have 2x squared plus 11x plus 12. And there you go, that's your full trinomial. All right, let's take a look at our examples now, because this is kind of what your assignment is going to look like. You're going to try example 1 on your own, because it's just like what we did on 9.1. Okay, you're also going to try example 3 on your own. Okay, but let's take a look at example 2 together. On example 2, we're still going to use the box method. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, build my box here. I'm missing some things, and it gave me filled out in other places. So let's take a look at that here. Okay. It tells you that part of the factor is 2x plus 3. Okay, so that's great. We're going to put that on top. We're going to put our leading coefficient on top. 2x and 3. Well, I know that this one right here has to be x so that I can multiply to get that 2x squared. Okay. Now I know that my bottom box, my bottom right box, has to be 12, right? Because that's always what we're wanting to get there at the end. Now, that should help us, right? Because here I know that 3 times x gives me 3x. Well, what times 3, if I'm looking right here, what times 3 would get us 12? 4. So 2x times 4 gives us 8x, and that gives us everything, right? Because if we combine like terms, but what are we missing here? X plus 4 is now what we know is our other part of our factor, but if that's true, we know 8x, 3x together, if we combine like terms, what would that put here? 11x, exactly. All right, you're gonna try example 3 on your own, but let's take a look at example 4. Because this is what your assignment is really going to look like, where it doesn't give you any fill in the blanks. You have to factor it by yourself. So the first thing that I would do is I would create an x, okay? You don't have to do it this way, but I think it'll help you. So I'm going to create an x. Now, remember, when we said we were doing the box method, okay, we know what, right? We know that it has to end with that 5. Okay, so that's one thing you can go ahead and fill out for yourself. You know that bottom right box has to be 5. Okay, now another thing that we know is typically we say, all right, well, it has to add to get 8 and it has to multiply to get this last number, but there's nothing that's going to add to 8 and multiply to get 5. That's just not possible. What we do is we take this leading coefficient here and we multiply it by that last number. Well, what is 3 times 5? 15. Okay? And then we want it to add to 8. And now we can use this here. So the great thing about this is it gave you exactly what it would be, right? 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 will add to 8 and multiply to be 15. So you're going to take those two numbers that you just gave yourself, 3 and 5, and you're going to put them inside of your box. So we're going to say 5x and 3x. And now it's becoming more and more like a fill in the blank because you know exactly what you need to have now. With 3x squared, well, you know that it has to be the leading coefficient on top and x, because we want 3x times x gives us 3x squared. Okay, perfect. Got it. And then 8x plus 5, well, let's see. How could I get from 5, sorry, to 5x, right? So 5 times x is 5x. Okay, so that's your first part of your factor, 3x plus 5. And then here, how do I get from 3x to 3x? Well, I have to multiply by 1. So that's the other part of your factor. And then you're done. You've factored it out. So in a minute on your pixel art activity, that's exactly how I want you to solve. All right, we're going to look at one more example together. I'm actually not going to include the back page of these notes on your copy. I just want to show you this if you want to jot it down somewhere, because it's going to be like this on your problem, on your activity. You're going to get the greatest common factor first. So like on this problem here, 2x squared minus 8x plus 8 does have a greatest common factor. What could be divided into each of these numbers? 2. Could I go any higher than 2? I couldn't, so that's my greatest common factor, so I'm going to say 2. Then I pull it out of the entire thing, so 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so that leaves me with x squared. Negative 8 divided by 2 gives me negative 4x. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. And now it's just like what we did on notes 9.1. So again, I'm going to use that box method. Okay. I know to get x squared, I'm going to have x and x. And that gets me my x squared. To get negative 4, so remember we want to add to negative 4, but multiply to positive 4, I would need negative 2, right, and negative 2. Because I know that negative 2 and negative 2 together will give me negative 4. So how can I get from x to negative 2x? By multiplying it by negative 2. Okay? And then here, so x, and then how would I get to positive 4 here? I want to make sure that that's positive 4. Okay? That's going to have to be negative 2. So you factored out, right? You have x minus 2 and x minus 2. But can I forget about that 2 that I factored out at the very beginning? I can't, so it's going to go at the front here. All right, I will see you for notes 9.3.